Hello and welcome back to FTB Skies 2. You joined me for episode 2. Before we get into today's episode, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new, and let's get straight on in. So obviously last time we made the iron budding. Well, this time I want to progress and make a few more buddings. And this is how they work, by the way. You just right click on them and they give you the shards. Sorry, 1 shard is equal to 1 ingot. I thought you'd have to do some crafts and stuff just to get the 1 ingot. No, it is that simple. I thought that's quite nice. That's quite the surprise. And why am I doing this? Because obviously I want another bucket. Why? Because I want to make a cobblestone generator, so I'm generating cobblestone automatically. Because if you aren't aware, if you haven't watched the last episode, our island is built out of deep slate, not cobblestone, so we need a way of getting cobblestone. Cobblestone is fairly easy to come by. We can use the strainer, which we have had going now for a while, and it's collected a lot of stone pebbles, which we then turn into cobblestone, but it's not quite just enough for a cobblestone generator. But once we do have enough, we can just grab some lava and head on over to our crafting table using a bucket of lava, bucket of water, glass, and 6 compressed cobblestone. We'll get ourselves a cobblestone generator. Now that we've got ourselves some cobblestone generating by putting the cobblestone generator down with a drawer on top, we're going to go straight into making some new puddings. And the first one we're going to make is the coal one, because the coal one will be very useful because we haven't actually got out a good way of sourcing coal. We can get charcoal by growing the trees and smelting that down, but we want some coal. Now, to get the coal one, all we need to do is get some black dye. Now, I don't know about you, but I've not seen a squid since starting this world. There's only one way I know how to get black dye, and that's by using the milling stone. We need to get into a little bit of create. To get the milling stone, we're going to need an andesite casing, and a cog. And we can get a cog by using some andesite shafts and some wood planks, and they're easy to make. Throw those things in a crafting table and we'll get ourselves a milling stone. Now, we're also going to need some other form of cogs, and to get a quest done, I made the large cog. And with that being said, we get a few more cogs as a reward of this. However, we're also going to need the hand crank as well. And the hand crank is just as easy as 3 planks and 1 andesite ingot. And with the setup, we place the millstone down. I used a large cog because I thought, with the millstone cog being quite small, if we use the big one, we'll get a few more rotations, recipe will be done quicker, and the hand crank on top so we can turn it ourselves. Bang, it's the setup completed. If we throw some charcoal in there, however, grind that up, we'll get ourselves some black dye. Don't forget, we need to make a void crystal, which we went through in the last episode. So once we've placed that void crystal down, we can just simply right click with the dye and make it into a whole amethyst. The next budding crystal we're going to get is the gold one, and this was pretty self-explanatory. All you need to do is right click with some yellow dye, which we already had from a yellow flower from the previous episode. So after grabbing some more iron and upgrading my sword, it was time to look at the quest book again. Which is where I stumbled upon a quest where it said we are not alone. There are other islands in this void. So let's go and try and find another island, eh? And this is the perfect opportunity for us to use some of this cobblestone that we're automatically generating, turning it into slabs and using them as a pathway off of our island. And initially, after traveling about 6 to 7 stacks away from our main island, we found absolutely nothing. So that was filled with pure disappointment. But what did make it a little bit better was when we got home, a wandering trader did spawn in, and we managed to buy a few items off of him that we might need for future episodes. So the cursed earth and the delightful earth, and we'll be using those things in the coming episodes very soon. But we're not going to find an island by staying on our island, so it is to our cobblestone plank of death, which is where we use more cobblestone to extend our path and peek further on into the void, which seems like an endless pit of death. There's no seems, it's an endless pit of death. Definitely not trying to use filler words to make this seem more dramatic than it actually is, but once we've used a fair few stacks, we actually do manage to find 2 islands pretty close by. We're going to choose one of them to go to today, and this Savannah one looks like it'll be the one. I was hoping this island was on the same level plane that we were already on, but no, it turns out it's about 80 to 90 blocks up, which was not fun stacking all of those slabs up until the island. Why didn't you just use staircase with normal cobblestone? Well, because I didn't want to have to jump up it constantly. Could have made stairs, but that seems like a lot of work when I had all the slabs on me anyway. So we just made a staircase. Once we boarded this island, we were greeted by a patch of crop. Now, I didn't know this at all, and turns out there were some mystical agriculture crops, which I think I'm going to make a rule as if we find the crops on the island, we are okay to use them. I think that's a pretty good thing to do. We can't make any mystical agriculture seeds. If we find them, we can use them. Just let me know down in the comments on that rule. Let me know what you guys think. We were also greeted by a little house. Now, this little house had a couple of chests, and these chests were unbloody believable because we had netherite scrap in them. We had loads of random scrap that I've never really used before, might end up using in this mod pack, you'll never know. We took it all anyway, and even some netherite scrap, and I was absolutely over the moon because I had just made the gold pudding before that, so we could get some netherite ingots very soon. But the netherite ingots are useless unless you have diamonds. Now, what I did notice when coming up to this island was there was diamond buddings underneath, which I haven't gone and collected yet. They are still there, but I wanted to go and continue looting the island, which is where I found out mobs. There are mob spawners on this island, and that was fun to deal with until I was exploring a little bit further. We found some more chests and things, and with more netherite scrap in it, and it was all going great. And then I see a copper time trial spawner and get a little bit scared. And I was right in doing so to be a little bit scared, because this massive skeleton creature spawned in and was chasing me down, and now this guy hurt. So all I did was I slack homed. I was not dealing with that beast. Not today. So after making it home, crying and wallowing in my self-pity, I thought we would continue our journey on making some budding amethyst. And there are a few that I want to make before we end off today's episode. Before making those, I wanted to check out the shop and see what we could unlock, because we actually unlocked the new section of the shop earlier on in this episode. And I was actually able to buy some basic resource bags. Now, this has a chance of giving us some diamonds. It also has a chance of giving us some emeralds and some other materials that we might not need. But the diamonds and the emeralds are particularly the most intriguing ones because, one, we haven't got any diamonds, and two, we can actually trade with the villager that's on top of our house to get diamonds. So either way, at the end of today's episode, I want to get some diamonds as well. So after opening a few of these loot bag resource things, we actually do end up getting some emeralds. However, we do get no diamonds, but we can use those emeralds to get diamonds off the wandering trader. Now that we've actually got some diamonds, I'm now going to make some budding crystals and stuff. But we're also going to need some dye for that. So I grabbed some bone meal that I'd been stashing away for quite some time now. We're going to go over to our patch of grass and start growing some grass. We break a load of grass and we managed to get a few of the needed dyes for some crystals. The first one being red dye, which is actually redstone. This is very useful, and we're going to be using this most likely in the next episode. The next one we managed to get is light grey. This becomes the tin budding crystal. And our final crystal that we managed to get is orange, which is the copper budding crystal as well. Just before we go here, there's one thing I want to try and do, and that's see if we can get some obsidian, because earlier on in the episode, as a reward, we managed to get this flux pickaxe. I want to see if this can pick up any obsidian. So we grab a bucket of lava, dig a little hole, put the lava in that hole, grab a bit of water, put the water over the lava, creates as obsidian. But unfortunately, we cannot use our flux pickaxe to pick up any obsidian. We're going to have to find a new way of getting obsidian. Now, why did we need this obsidian? It was basically to make more Reigns of Infinity because I had disabled the way we can get it through the void, which was done within a quest. That's a problem for another time. And the final thing I want to do for today's episode is actually grow crops that we managed to get from the island. We quickly made a little 5x5 farming area. We then placed some water down, managed to get a worm to make it grow a little bit quicker. We placed the worm down, then we placed all of our crops, and in the shop, we could buy lily pads of fertility. So I ended up buying one and putting it on the center patch of water. And again, this will help further grow the crops a little bit quicker. But that will do us for today's episode. So thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe if you are new. Smash that like button and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Goodbye.